So that was really the nexus of Hugo. We weren't trying to sell it, but talking to customers, they were more excited about what we were doing as a business internally than they were about the product that we were trying to sell. And then one thing led to another. We realized that engineers don't like to read slabs of text. They like Jira issues, and marketers like Trello. So we just added on the functionality to turn those insights from your meeting into actions in your tools.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Darren, how's it going, man?
Good to see you.
So good to have you on the show. So for those that don't know you, Hugo, do you go Hugo.team or Hugo.team?
Yeah, or just Hugo.
I like just Hugo.
Yeah.
People check it out. You guys been around for 5 years, 4.5?
A bit less. So about 3 years.
Okay.
But Hugo, as it's known today, is only just over a year old.
Okay. So pivot in the product.
Oh, yeah.
What was it when you guys started?
Sure. So we were more focused on the meeting preparation side of the process. How do I walk into the meeting prepared and knowing what I need to know from prior company knowledge? And we're in this dangerous space where it was a consumer mobile app for a professional use case.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. So who's paying for that, right? And to share the full story, what happened was we were out selling, essentially, talking to customers, partners, investors, the usual story. And this disconnect started forming between my co-founder and I and the rest of the business. We'd come back and say, hey guys, guess what? This customer said that, and I think this is what we should do there. And partners are more concerned about this feature. And the team sort of got it, but it was just us regurgitating what we knew. So we built a hack for ourselves where through Slack, we'd integrate with our calendar, G Suite as we were using, and it would say, hey, you just caught up with Dan, what happened? And I'd share my notes via Slack. And from there, it would copy the notes to relevant Slack channels. And the team were now getting this real-time feed of insights from the front line. So we thought this was just a good, business hack, how to keep everyone aligned. And within days, the team was...
It's funny because if I think of that stream of meetings and what's captured and posted into essentially like a social stream or a Slack channel, I mean, that's the insights, or that's the knowledge inside your organization.
That's right. And think about where it would go previously, right? Like I used Evernote, my co-founder likes to write things down, salespeople were putting to their CRM. So that was really the nexus of Hugo. We weren't trying to sell it, but talking to customers, they were more excited about what we were doing as a business internally than they were about the product that we were trying to sell. And then one thing led to another. We realized that engineers don't like to read slabs of text. They like Jira issues, and marketers like Trello. So we just added on the functionality to turn those insights from your meeting into actions in your tools.
That's awesome. So that's 1.5 years into it. This show is called Escape Velocity. I love to learn more of we were just talking about Atlassian being a channel partner or partner in the marketplace for you. What are the things that you guys have done well to get distribution or traction?
Sure. So there's sort of a few, we're still figuring it out, as is the standard caveat. The few things that have been are really differentiated or transformative for us. One is partnerships. And the funny thing about partnerships is when we talk to advisors and other peers in the SaaS space, everyone sort of dives away from them. Call them what you want. By nature of our product, we rely on integrations, right? So there's 19 integrations that
I saw that, man. You got a lot of integrations.
A lot of integrations. It's the core tools we need to connect your meeting notes. So all of those 19 companies are a lot bigger than us. They have loyal customer base, that they have a huge audience. They have channels, whether it be blog, PR, things like that. So how can we leverage that? We add value to their tools, I guess. So we've gone with each of them and found a unique angle that we have.
How did you prioritize? I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Sure.
I'm known for that. But you've got 19. How do you decide what 1, 2, 3, the first 10 are?
To build?
Yeah.
We just waited for our customers to see what they're using. Trello was number 1. Salesforce was number 2. It was in order of addressable market, basically.
Really? Okay, so it wasn't about distribution?
Not initially.
Okay.
Until you get to that point of fit where you're like, hang on, we've got something valuable here.
Meaning that you need to have enough coverage of the use cases.
Exactly.
Then you can be more strategic in your decision.
Spot on. And on that, by the way, it's definitely a curve that becomes asymptotic, where each initial integration had a huge impact on audience for us and customers.
Yeah.
And then after that, you might add a one to pick up a few here and a few there.
And which ones are driving the most growth for you guys today?
So back to the marketplace side of things, Atlassian is right up there. They've got a great marketplace, a very loyal following, and Slack is the other one that's probably number one, even above Atlassian. Why? Because people are looking for, obviously, to improve their process with Slack. But the thing that's interesting about Slack is Slack says a lot about your company. So internally, if I tell you who our persona is, spot on. They get collaboration, they get transparency. Go and try to tell a company on Exchange why the CEO should be sharing their meeting
Microsoft
notes.
Exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, you can use the product tool sets as almost a characteristics of the mentality of the organization based on. So, I mean, if you're always, Jeffrey Moore's technology adoption curve, you're looking for those early adopters or early majority, and you're saying the product that they use can be a tell. But what do those marketplaces do well that drives adoption? Like, do they allow you? I'm assuming you don't pay for placement. Do you do reviews on those marketplaces?
Sure.
Did they, as partners, promote you guys? Like, how did you get it to actually drive real signups and stuff?
So it's got to be outside the marketplace. If we're in the marketplace, we're one of thousands of apps, and obviously there's not much differentiation. So we've looked for opportunities with each of them to stand out. What can we offer as a small early stage startup to these big tech giants? And each one's different. I spoke about Atlassian before. Hugo is used by the whole company. It's cross-functional by nature. Atlassian is a product suite that's historically been focused on software teams.
So they use your product.
They're starting to internally, yes. Okay. But I mean, they're focused on software teams and selling. Well, here we are with Hugo with marketing teams, HR teams, design, legal. So we're going, hey guys, here's a way to expose Jira to your marketing team or your legal team.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that the use case was value add to their use case. And then does it show up in their conversations with their customers? Is that why?
So the way it would work in that with that use case example, I'm in sales, for example. I have no idea how engineering prioritizes bugs. I'm in a conversation with a customer. They raise a bug. I can highlight that part of my meeting note and send that straight through to engineering. And the way I do that is by creating a Jira bug. From engineering's perspective, instead of just getting a plain Jira bug, they're getting the full context of the customer complaint that gave rise to it. And from a salesperson's perspective, I'm now using Jira. I have an interface for Jira. I understand that that's how our work's prioritized.
I guess I apologize. The trying to understand why would what makes the Atlassian marketplace drive? Is it just their user base? Because it's in the marketplace. I've done a lot. I did 13 integration deals when I built my company, Flowtown. And, it's kind of like everything. There's the ones that actually, it's 80-20.
Yep.
What was true about Atlassian? Did they write a one-off blog post for you guys? Did you guys promote them? Did they promote you? How?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the few layers are, so that point I was giving about making it wider than just software teams, that's a strategic priority for Atlassian. It's publicly known. We're helping them do that. So we're an app that's our value prop's consistent with their strategic priority.
Okay, so that's important.
Yeah, that's right. That's important. There's not many other Jira integrations that are great for legal teams, for example. Hugo's one of them. So that's number one. Number two is finding an issue that matters. We're about to release something pretty exciting with Atlassian focused on gender equality and the role that collaboration tools have on gender equality. Yeah. Atlassian are incredibly active and effective at diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, I heard Jay talk about that at SaaStr.
Exactly. His open talk. So we're talking about something similar at Atlassian Summit next week. We're releasing a white paper together. There's a lot of strategic overlap there. Of course, that helps. That's brand and product marketing for us, and it's important to Atlassian because independent collaboration companies out there are talking about the issues they care about. And then third is just essentially being active and hustling. They've got the audience, they've got the channels. It costs them money to produce high quality content where we know what matters to them, and we're going and waving a draft blog post in their face saying, hey, you guys care a lot about marketing teams and the way they communicate. Here's a post about it that we've written from the perspective of Hugo. And that approach with Atlassian in particular has been very effective. And then we've done that with each different marketplace and found something different.
And walk me through the Slack one then.
Sure. So Slack's actually a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
We haven't, most of the marketing we've had with Slack has been through the normal channels, and we've been selected as app of the week and things like that organically. But a better example of another approach would be like with Zoom. Zoom launched an app network, an app directory not long ago. We were the first app. Why? Because when Zoom goes and knocks on the door of Atlassian or of Slack or anyone like that. They don't have a single app. Who's going to want to build for them? But as an early stage startup, Zoom's offering us a press release, conference speaking spot, blog posts for
prominent placement. And they have a huge customer database.
Exactly. Emails out to those customers, and it's just an API. We can do that in a day or two, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you got to make it perfect, but it's not a huge overhead for, as you know. So we're like, bingo, we can go and be that, that team, that company there. Blue Jeans is obviously moving down market a little bit as well. They're very enterprise focused. They've now partnered with a cool startup kid who's doing some really interesting stuff. We're early stage, we're young, we're innovative, and it's a great press story and a great
So do you kind of have
story.
that conversation with them about like, hey, if we do this, because we're a small team, we want to build the integration. Here's what would be nice as like, yeah,
definitely. We can't afford to take the bets without knowing the payoff. So we'll go and say, hey, this would be a great use case. Here's a prototype. We think your customers would like it. Here's what we want. It doesn't cost you anything. So let's do it.
And what have you got them to agree on? I mean, what are it sounds like the press release, prominent placement in the App Store.
Content. So we do a lot of third-party content that we write. Conferences are a big one. So we get to talk about
speak on stage,
thought leadership, an issue we care a lot about that our value proposition indirectly supports. Product marketing. So to the to their customers, emails and things like that. And I guess we're just figuring out new channels and things to do. Yeah.
And what else have you guys figured out in regards to like what marketing do you guys do today?
Sure. So we're self-serve business, so it's all marketing led.
And what's an annual contract value for you guys?
So we're $6 per user per month for teams of 6 or more, and we're focused SMB. So our teams range from 20 to 250, essentially. So you're getting an ACV in the
1,200.
Yeah. Or sometimes a bit more. We've got some bigger teams, but that sort of size. So other channels, we experiment obviously with paid ads and things like that. We're moving now towards doing content marketing, but in a differentiated way. It's funny, like you read the books and you hear people talk. What worked
saturated.
Exactly, and what worked a year ago is irrelevant
today.
now.
Yeah.
But our persona of our customer are highly educated, motivated young professionals who do read a lot and they do want to improve. So we're focusing on the issues that are relevant, that are value in their own right, even if they didn't have a marketing objective beneath them. So as I mentioned, we're about to put a white paper out on the state of gender equality in tech, looking at actionable ways for early stage companies to make a difference there. That's pretty, it's pretty substantive content. It's not a 5 best ways to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So that's looking effective and has been effective for us before.
Yeah.
We do paid ads. And conferences have worked out really well for us.
And how do you do conferences on the cheap? Because that's obviously...
Every conference organizer is going to hate me. So firstly, when we started attending them to figure things out, we don't need to go to the sessions most of the time. And many conferences are now giving away free or discount tickets to attend and see what others are saying and doing. So that's what we did from a research perspective. From attending and sponsoring, again, if we can find something strategically relevant, so if I can go to a big IT conference and be the young hotshot entrepreneur from Silicon Valley who can talk about a different perspective on things, we're getting in there free.
So you're pitching speaking as the primary.
So our strategy with conferences now, we won't sponsor a conference we don't speak at, almost always.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're genuine.
Yeah.
We're marketing led, right? Yes, we can pitch our product like any founder should be able to.
Yeah.
But we're not putting you into a pipeline and going to hassle you. We want you to be aware of Hugo, and we want you to find it and see value and then convert. So we want to talk about something that matters and things that are changing the future of work and teamwork and these real issues, and that requires us to speak.
That's amazing. So you actually, for the most part, if you're speaking, you're not paying. You got to cover your expenses. What do you do to get the most out of an event? We're here at LTV Conf in New York City. What's your kind of go-to playbook for maximizing your time away from the office?
Sure. So speak as early in the conference as you can.
Yeah.
Get a booth or some way to capture interest so people aren't on a wild goose chase looking for you. So it's an easy way to go, hey, I disagree, or I love that, or talk to me more about this or that. A little bit of preparation. I'm not the typical, print a list and highlight and set up meetings before. It's also not the type of conferences we go to, but I definitely always have a few strategics where I'm like, I just really want to get a conversation with whoever,
Yeah.
and I will try and create that as much as I can, but in a genuine way. I think, SDRs, sales development reps, and the whole process of people setting meetings for others is...
Dude, it's so weird. I went to SaaStock last year, and I probably had like 7 or 8 SDRs reach out to me as a speaker to schedule time with their
Exactly.
sales reps, and I'm just like, this works? Like, it's just so weird.
100%. Exactly. You just delete them all, or I don't know. I sometimes think, well, hang on, if you want like my time to talk to me about something, but your colleague doesn't take the time to reach out,
weird.
It's just a weird dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So we're steering clear. I'm trying to do it genuinely.
Have you ever gone to a conference and not bought a ticket and just lobby conned it?
Well, we no, because you can usually get in free or cheap, or we share tickets around. I got in trouble for that the other week.
And what do you mean by that?
So at one particular conference, we get given 4 passes. Usually it's 2 of us there. We reach out to our other partners and say, hey, who wants 2 free tickets? And then we get vice versa. So we'll often grab a ticket from a partner and jump on there.
That's cool.
Yeah, their
I mean, it's
sponsorships get
creative.
in.
I mean, they're tickets.
Totally.
It's not like you read the fine print and they say like you can't share them or whatever.
Or who's going to go and kick out a big
Totally.
brand? Yeah.
I just love that, because I think in the early days, people are trying to preserve capital, but at the same time get in front of their customers. And did you guys make a list of events that you think you should be speaking at?
Yeah. So we do a little bit. We're quite opportunistic. It's very much stepping stones, right? So Josh, my co-founder, is talking at Atlassian Summit next week. 4,500 people.
That's huge.
It's a great one.
Congrats.
Thanks. And it's a good audience for us. Everyone gets it. They're all SaaS savvy.
It's one of your top,
Exactly.
And then
But you go and pitch to Atlassian, they're not going to, so what we do is we go and grab the small guys and, build up this speaking resume, and you just take one to the other, and there's always stuff on. And if there's no cost to it, so let's go to a 200-person conference in Utah. It's $300 return on United. We'll speak. We get good speaking practice. There may be some leads, but we've now got this on the resume. We have a good video of him talking or me talking. We've got a good resume, and then we jump onto the next one. And then, as you know,
speaking begets speaking.
Exactly.
That's
what
people. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. Some founders don't have the skill, right? They're nervous. They don't want to do that. But I think if you're the kind of person that thrives in that environment, there's no way to go from trust faster than getting the opportunity to share some valuable thoughts with an audience. And I share that same in my speaking kind of rider. It says I've got to go in the morning of the first day. I want to go early. And the reason why is because I'm going to stick around for a few days and I want to meet the people in the audience. And it just provides better context for that conversation to occur.
Totally. And it's genuine conversation.
They know your thoughts. They know your backstory, your origin story. As you look to the product, I love that you guys, went through the pivot. Now you've got, kind of a more full-featured product. What do you guys see as the next either expansion revenue opportunity or, product? What are you guys thinking of doing next to help?
Sure. Easy answer. So today, one of the benefits of Hugo is we enter through a team. So let's say customer success. The CS team doesn't have many tools. Their notes are everywhere. They're like, we need this. They share their notes via Slack through Hugo. They, create Jira tickets. They sync their CRM, etc. And all of a sudden, someone in product seeing this thing called Hugo in Slack sharing customer notes. Product's been pulling their hair out for months trying to get access to customer insights. So they say, thank you, I'll have a seat. And before we know it, we penetrate 90% of the company. Because everyone has, wants access to those meeting notes. So that's really great from a growth perspective internally. And that's a key KPI for us. We really look at penetration, do some LinkedIn calculations and try and see the penetration. But the key gap for growth in terms of growth for us is intercompany growth. So great, we've got your whole company using Hugo, but most of your meetings are outside the company. How do we leverage that? How do we use that as a way to grow between companies? And we're very focused on that right now, providing a one place for meeting collaboration between companies.
So that's fascinating. So again, for companies watching, the idea, the pattern that I'm extracting is look for activities that might allow your product to be shared outside of the core team. A while ago, I talked about this concept called shareable moments because I saw this a lot with FreshBooks for invoicing. Well, it inherently has a shareable moment where you send an invoice to somebody else and it says, oh, how did you send this beautiful thing? Or project management with Basecamp, because it's if I invite you to collaborate Slack. I mean, Slack is channel creation and inviting people. So what you guys are doing is saying here's this use case. How do we broaden it? And is that going to be a byproduct of product marketing to your existing customers to try to educate them on a new use case? Is it going to be some different integrations? expanding the product? How do you educate the customer on that?
Sure. Well, the best thing is the features are all there. We have to make some data model changes, but no one cares about that. So it's purely a project education thing. The use case exists, so we hear it all the time. All our engaged customers are like, yeah, but I'm working with this partner. I brought on this agency. We're collaborating on this project. How can we share those notes together? So we're just going to add another paradigm to Hugo to create shared spaces between companies. And what's interesting is that there's a sort of like an upsell or like a product growth opportunity for existing customers. So we can get Hugo within their team and then push them to use it between companies. Or there's a whole new use case, right, where people are looking for a way to collaborate between companies, where we've got these deep relationships and I just need something common between us. And yet Slack shared channels are great for chatting now. But Trello, exactly, that's for the actions. But where are the notes? I think there's the two ways to go about it, and we'll test and see, to be honest.
That's cool. So started in Sydney, moved to San Francisco. Obviously, because I similar East Coast Canada, San Francisco. What's been the biggest impact of being in that city in regards to your startup? And because everybody's like, should I move? Should I not move? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
We oscillate. We wouldn't be where we are today if we hadn't moved there, and for a few reasons. So firstly, the serendipity when everyone's doing what you do is out of this world. I've had 3 transformative Uber pool rides where, and I don't talk in Uber pool, by the way. That's a big no-no apparently. Yeah. But where I've just been on the phone and someone's overheard a conversation and said, "Hey, I hear you work with Freshworks. I'm actually just started as this, as executive in their office here," and things like that. Number one. Number two is, we support remote work. Obviously, our team's part remote, and the nature of what Hugo does, and we're getting more and more remote. But building deep relationships that partnerships require, it really helps in person. And I can walk a few blocks and basically see any one of our partners. I can go to all their events. I can go and drop off a bit of swag and hassle them. I can, hang out for a beer across the road. And I think that would have been a lot slower without being in the
just
city.
the sheer number of events people I don't think understand. It is crazy. There's 3 or 4 events going on every night.
Yeah, you got to be selective.
Yeah.
You got to go crazy.
At first, did you go a little...
Yeah.
Like a fat kid on cake?
I did. Because you got to figure out who's who and where things are, and just it's a good way to sort of acclimate yourself to the city. But after that, we're very selective now. I have an objective pretty much always, even if it's a human objective, really want to get to know Dan better.
One person or people,
totally.
Not just go there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. At a certain point, it's like, okay, well, I've got stuff I actually have to do if I'm going to take time away from this.
Yeah, that's right.
And in regards to who you needed to become as a co-founder for your team, what have you learned about just growing into the role that you're playing today?
It's interesting. Obviously, leadership in general. I came from a legal background. I was a corporate lawyer in Australia, and it's very hierarchical. And you look up to the partnership as these people who who are the best of the best, and all sorts of things, and you start to realize the difference between an executive and a leader. And I think it comes what we've had to figure out is to be that leader, the ups and downs. And it sounds very cliched, but you have to. One of the big lessons, I guess, for us is to take the team with us for the ride. My natural instinct was to shield the team from the not so great experiences and then celebrate the great ones and the wins. But we're wasting a whole bunch of brains. We've hired these smart people. They're all intelligent, intellectually smart and emotionally smart. We've now really created a culture, and I've learned as a leader, and as Josh, to bring them along with us. And most of the time, the better ideas are coming from them anyway.
So do you not shield them anymore from
not at all
the lows?
No, not at all.
And that way you get to leverage their brain power?
Totally.
And in regards to just being able to deal with the highs and lows, we talked actually, Mike Cannonbrook, right, from Atlassian. I emailed him, cold emailed him a decade ago. And he replied. It was about a partnership, but it was in that email exchange I discovered his blog. Yeah. And he wrote a lot of just founder type stuff. And a lot of people, if they hear me talk about the Entrepreneurial Pendulum, that idea came from Mike Cannonbrook's. Yeah, just this, you swing from question mark to exclamation mark, from take over the world. I know what I'm doing with my life, exclamation mark to question mark. Why am I doing this? Should I keep doing it? And sometimes you'll swing back and forth a couple times per week, sometimes a couple times per day,
Totally.
right?
Exactly.
What have you learned, or what do you do to deal with those swings personally?
Yeah. So it's a few things. Firstly, I have ultimate respect for single founder businesses. I don't know how those people do that. It's really impressive. And the reason I say that is having a co-founder. So typically, your swings aren't aligned perfectly, which is a good thing.
They pull you up when you're feeling down.
Exactly. And vice versa. Not getting too excited about some big customer or some big win because we've still got this problem to solve. So sort of neutralizing a bit in the middle. And Josh and I, my co-founder, we're pretty disciplined about going for walks and getting out and just venting or celebrating in that way. So that's number one, having someone. And you can offset that. It's not that you're on your own if you don't have a co-founder, advisors or a network of friends who are in the same boat. Another benefit being in San Francisco, finding a B2B SaaS founder who's experiencing the same thing is
Throw a
everywhere.
rock.
Exactly.
You're gonna hit 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it. Other than that, we've been trying to live in San Francisco, not just live in a bubble of startups.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been pretty
And you just had
strict. We just
new
had a baby as well
4 months ago. Yeah.
Exactly. So we obviously care a lot about a family life in SF, and we realize that we're here to live as a family, not just because it's a means to an end to build a SaaS business. It's a long game, as you know. It's not an in and out sort of story. So we travel a lot around the country, explore California.
So is that a reminder of playing the long game or thinking long game? Is that like how you deal with the highs and lows? Just like realizing like this is not a temporary thing.
Exactly. You only ever have, in my view, one real low once, right? So you have your first person that resigns, a key engineer resigns.
Sure, it's always the worst the first time.
That's right. And you're like, we're screwed, it's all over. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, well, actually, it's kind of cool because now I get to hire someone who fills this gap, which I really need now. The next time someone resigns, you're like, oh, that's fine. When Mike resigns, yeah, that's right. And so each time something bad happens, it's kind of the last time you care about, or not care, but the last time it really
hurt
hits
that
you.
bad.
Yeah. So the long game there. And the third thing I think is, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Just like how do you deal with the highs and lows? You said the first thing was co-founder. Second thing was playing the long game.
Yep, definitely playing the long game. I guess the third is it's related to the long game, but it's just a perspective thing. So it's we're so deep in the weeds that everything feels critical. Every bit of churn, every bug, etc. Switching tasks and looking at other facets of the business all the time reminds you the impact and usually how small it is, right? So a marketing channel completely falls over for us. We realize that this entire campaign we've been working up to is what it amounts to nothing. Well, I know that, number one, that's knowledge, that's value. And two, I have 6 marketing campaigns in play at the moment, so I move on to my next ones. So I really try, we have a weekly meeting called a high-low with our team, and we call it that to try and zoom into that stuff. So we are upset when we lost a customer for that bug, but then zoom out and be like, hey guys,
high low.
That's
smart.
It's a reminder just to be visionary and look at the big picture, but also look at numbers and how are we performing. And I find that most people I've worked with before oscillate, right? You're either a numbers person, you're the finance dude with the spreadsheet going, we're over budget here, or you're this visionary leader who wouldn't know how to create a Facebook ad campaign or wouldn't be able to pitch then sell the product. We really try and cover both. And that does help with the pendulum we spoke about.
Yeah. And in regards to your mindset, skill set of things as an entrepreneur that you've had to learn, like what's your process for learning those things? Being around sounds like, being, proximity matters for you. But how, and you go to a lot of events, which is, helpful because you're obviously seeing speakers on stage, share wisdom. But what's your go-to? Do you read? Do you...
So it's funny. I read, but not so much from a learning perspective. I mean, obviously you learn every time you read. I only read nonfiction. That's what interests me, but I don't learn the how-tos. I read to just broaden ways of thinking.
Awareness, yeah.
Awareness. That's a good word for that. Specifically to learn new skills, I just try. So I, as I say, came from a legal background, completely non-technical. Now in the product, I look after all the data, analytics, our website, all of our marketing automation, and I just figure it out. I mean, we're in an awesome time for no code, and I was joking to someone yesterday that Zapier is like my gaffer tape. Like, it holds the whole business together. So I just try and play and figure out. There's obviously so much content online, and there's basically not much we can't do now being non-technical founders, other than the real meat of our app. And we've obviously got an engineering team and good engineering leadership to help us with that.
And what do you guys do to kind of like keep communication? I mean, obviously you have a product that does this. I'm assuming you guys use your own product. You have meetings. It'd be weird if you didn't. But what have you learned around communication rhythms and stuff as you continue to scale and learn from your customers? How do you guys disseminate that? You've got the high-low meeting. What other meetings you guys feel are important? The walk and talks with your co-founder.
Yep. So we try and cap meetings at internal meetings at 10% of our time. It's just dangerous, and it's not the culture we want to create internally. External meetings with customers, obviously Hugo's solving that problem of sharing it internally, and that works super well for us, as it should. Other than that, we share data internally. We use Slack for everything. So Slack, both in the natural way of sharing, but using automations. So one really good example is we use error logging software called Bugsnag. So now whenever a user gets served an error, we post it to a Slack channel. That was the first step. So everyone knew that it was in our face that, hey, Dan, the customer worth this ARR, just ran into this problem and saw this ugly error modal. That sucks. It creates a culture of caring about that. It puts it front and center and makes sure that we're communicating internally about what matters. And then we went one step further. We trigger an email now to you and say, hey, Dan, really sorry, this sucked. You just got this error. Just so you know, Christian from the engineering team is actually looking at it right now. And we automate that. That's through Zapier, Bugsnag, and Customer IO for our email comms.
Dude, it sounds like you've really gone deep on Zapier.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow. That's amazing. I love it because there's a lot of non-technical founders that lean away from it because they think, well, they're too far past. Like, I'm never going to learn how to code, so why bother?
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like there's so many tools today that allow you to connect and build these kind of solutions without any other engineer involved.
Totally.
That allows the communication to flow. So Slack is kind of like that repository of just this stream of knowledge, and then Zapier to pull things over. What other kind of stuff do you guys log or?
Sure. So other sort of no-code tools
we
use. Webflow is great. Webflow is a HTML, CSS visual editor. So our entire website, which is full of animations and complicated CSS and things you'd think that we've had some front-end developer on, we built ourselves, being completely non-technical. That's been really...
wow, your site looks great.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And didn't know the first thing about that before. We use a lot of the data capture products, so like Chart.io and that, which again allows us... I learned SQL through Chart.io. It's a drag and drop SQL editor, and then you see the SQL you're creating, and all of a sudden I'm now running queries across our data. So I basically look through all of these integration, like the marketplaces we spoke about is like our SaaS lead gen. What else is everyone connecting? What does it do? What's it going to do for me? Another one that's really interesting is Segment.io. That's changed our business. Why? Because I want to try a new analytics product. I want to try an NPS product in our app. Previously, I'd create a Jira ticket. Engineering would complain about it. Yeah. Then I want to pull it out a week later. What didn't what we do? They're going to hate me forever. I go into Segment now and say, cool, connect the front end of our app to this thing, and a minute later, it's done. So that has really made us more agile from an integrations perspective as well.
That's cool. So in regards to transparency around the business, the numbers, et cetera, how do you guys deal with that?
Internally or externally?
Internally.
Yep, everything's completely transparent. We haven't gone quite as far as buffer on salaries and things like that yet, but everything around performance, customers, all very transparent. We dashboard, we share all those numbers. It's important, right? Because in the end, that's the only way to drive alignment. Yes, I'm an engineer, and my goal in my mind is these 10 Jira bugs or these 5 features, but for what? At the same time, do I really need to do those bugs? Like, I could just, push it off a bit. But if you know that we've lost 3 customers, or we have this big opportunity in the pipeline, if only we build this feature, you're building it for the right reasons, and you can do a better job at it. That's
awesome. Darren, where do you think the world of B2B SaaS is going? Like, what's non-obvious? Maybe you feel like everything, because in the Valley you kind of feel like everybody knows this stuff, but I mean, it's it's not a very old. I mean, it used to be called application service provider. Like the word SaaS is still kind of new in our lexicon. Where do you think we're going over the next decade with how we go to market, how we build solutions, how companies consume these apps?
So we think about this all the time, obviously. Bottoms-up adoption is now a known. A few years ago, that would have been an insight. The likes of Slack and Hugo now, to be fair. It's not a CIO who says, we will roll this out.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's probably not going to be effective.
Yeah.
So we know that.
But it's funny because like some new founders, young founders, don't even realize that that's not how it was done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. So so the whole idea of like, teams using a tool, free and or low cost, and then eventually it shows up in multiple departments, and then some sales guy at a Slack or Dropbox calls and says, hey, you've got 1,500 people using our thing, there's no consolidated
It's usually,
security.
do you want to use our thing? And they say, no, we don't have a need for that. And
Yeah,
funny
enough, we have 500 people in this department or across your
Exactly.
company using it. So bottoms up adoption.
Yep.
Yep.
The other is, so there's obviously an SaaS explosion now. We the latest data that we used in some of our content, 129 distinct SaaS tools at an average SMB. It's insane, right? So
129.
129.
I have a spreadsheet. I'm probably at 60.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because you don't realize how many things, but it's like you just keep adding, right? And,
Totally.
you might have 3 landing page tools and,
100%.
2 analytics tools and
then just some plugins that you paid a little bit
Plugins.
for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's obviously happening. And already it's getting hard. If you hop on the phone and say, look, I have this great SaaS tool that, half the time we're like, look, sorry, we can't handle any more SaaS. So our take on that is that when we look at that 129 and we took the top 500 and tried to bucket them, more than 90% of them are department specific. Right. So if you think about when you start a company, before you have like distinct functions, you go email, calendar, so Office 365 or G Suite. You go chat now. Slack have done a great job there. Project management. And that's about it. I mean, maybe the CRM next if you're a real sales-led company.
Tool.
Yep, your QuickBooks.
Yep.
But already that's department specific, right? Because as soon as you grow, who's going to have access to QuickBooks? Your finance team and the CEO. Who's going to have access to your CRM? The sales team. So why only a 10% of them company-wide? And with them, and
so you're saying out of all the SaaS companies, there's only 10% that are company-wide.
That's right. That are used across the company. So that's an interesting opportunity because what's happening is these SaaS tools are perpetuating team silos. All of our sales data is in Salesforce. All of our engineering, feature work and bugs are in Jira. All of our marketing campaigns are in Asana. So of course there's going to be team silos. The only way to share across teams is conversations. So what we're trying to do with Hugo, and I think a general direction that we're heading, is building horizontally, looking for ways to reduce the fragmentation of data that's happening in these silos and the fragmentation of people, where people don't think outside their little world of marketing or engineering or whatever it is.
So even though, because I see this with a lot of founders going horizontal and broad, you guys still focused on specific use cases.
Yes.
Was that something that you went wide, then narrow, and then wide again? How did you guys decide on those specific use cases?
So it's a definitional thing. We got this wrong and right so many times, right? So yeah, of course we want to be everything for everyone to start with. The usual founder growing up. Then we hit founder puberty where everyone's like, no, you've got to be something very specific, have a focused use case. But a focused use case doesn't mean that it's not of value to the whole company. So we went after very specific use cases. We knew that customer success is a great way to enter a company. They have a lot of meetings, generate insights that are valuable to the rest of the business. We knew that a company of a certain size that uses Slack and G Suite says a lot about their persona. And there were a few other things that we made us very specific. We want you, but the product to be valuable is going to go horizontal. A bit like Slack, right? They went after engineering teams. There's nothing really about Slack that makes it unique for engineering teams. So we do it that way, and then grow horizontally.
That's super smart, Darren. Super intriguing conversation. I love the fact that you guys think a lot about SaaS. It sounds like this is the amount of data and companies. It sounds like this is your world and it's what you talk about all the time. Where can people find you online or kind of consume your stuff?
Sure. So from our website, we Hugo.team, we publish a bunch on our blog. It's all thought leadership. There's no product marketing on our blog. We've kept it that way on purpose.
Yeah.
Getting more active on Twitter. We're Hugo Product.
Yeah.
And at events, I guess we're trying. That's what I love about coming here, speaking, and then the conversations afterwards, the real genuine one-on-one conversations about the stuff that we care about is where some of my best conversations in the last 2 years have happened.
That's awesome. So find you at events.
That's
Darren,
it.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for coming out. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching this episode of Escape Velocity. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment with your biggest insight from our conversation. Be sure to check out the next episode.